Okay, I think I'm satisfied. So, let's open up turn 1. Just one more thing. There we go. So this game was called Blame Lyran Renegade, and it was a Disciples game. And you can see my nation was Patala. Yes, well, Lyran got blamed for this game. That was just the name of the game. It doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot, but Lyran was one of the players. And, oh gosh, my teammates were Bearlord and Naira, I believe. Gosh, it's been a while. I should ask those guys. Now I gotta turn my own music down a little bit. There we go. Anyways, if the volume mixes are a little weird, let me know. I'll make some adjustments. So let's kind of cover the basics here. I can't easily show the Pretender yet, but it'll come out in a while. But we'll kind of go over the basics. So interestingly enough, this game was labeled as a casual game. And that's perhaps not even possible in a Disciples game when you've got a team. We sort of felt that, I think when you seriously look at it, Disciples just isn't possible to play on a truly casual basis. But as a result, our team had fairly experienced players. So we agreed, because some of the other teams were much less experienced, we would take a bit of a handicap by doing a kind of a, I guess, a meme sort of build or not a power build. So if you look at the blast, it's distinctly a little on the strange side. So we've got shock resistance, cold resistance, defense, undying, and then charged bodies. Now the charged bodies doesn't particularly fit with any of the nations that were on our team. So let's just take a look at the 3 nations. So this is a late age game. I'm Patala. We've got Xibalba as a teammate, and then Utgard. And the other thing, hilariously, is the host of this game had not done this before, so didn't set clustered starts. So you can see there's a serious challenge right at the beginning. Is we're sure hoping Utgard can hold his own, because to help protect him, it's going to require a major amount of travel. But you can also envision that the other teams are potentially scattered all over the place, just as much as we were. So my turn 1's fairly straightforward. Let's just have a look here. I'm just doing a simple test. So I'm going to do a scout probe on this throne, see if there's anything much here to do. We have nothing else really to look at. And now I need to confirm. So let me look at temples, yes. And looking at our scales, we've got no scales yet, because there'll be the Pretender will have the scales. There we go. So Utgard was the Pretender. Yeah, the non-cluster start made life challenging, that's for sure. So you can see, it's a turmoil luck build. The heat is an odd choice. So Utgard was the cold nation and 2 hot nations. So pretty sure we went cold one. And I can't very easily look up the original Pretender. I'll have a look and see if I can find I should possibly still have around the old group, but maybe not. No, looks like not. Now this game, if I have a quick look at the original, we started this, yeah, the turn showed up, we started this game in October 2020, and it went on from there. And it ended fairly quickly, all things considered. So I think that's sufficient for turn 1, unless anybody has any questions. Yeah, he did get good resources, although you don't take resources from ocean. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 land. Because you don't get, your forts don't suck from water. Suck resources from water. So I'll go on to turn 2. This is going to go up on YouTube as well. I'm recording this at the same time. And I think that's more than sufficient coverage of turn 1. So let's look at turn 2. Here we go. Turn 2. So there's the test of the throne. And that is a pretty honkin' big pile of stuff in the throne. So it's pretty obvious I'm not going to be dealing with that for quite a while. And you can imagine, with a bit of foreshadowing, I take my care to get around to that. And that's not a wonderful event, so much for luck. But especially with Utgard so far away, it's going to take quite a while to propagate the scales. So you can see they're just starting to propagate. And that's always an issue in a Disciples game, is the 2 Disciples won't get the great scales right off the bat. Yeah, but 3,000 isn't horrific, and I believe we grabbed growth. Yeah, so we've got some decent growth. Idea behind the growth was to help out. And now I believe we picked growth 2, partly due to cost, but partly also that there's a reasonable chance of getting a growth throne. I don't remember the throne settings. You know, sadly, when you go to record one of these so far after the fact, it's kind of hard to chase down all the historical stuff. Yes, Turmoil 3 until the luck spreads. Yes. So it's an entertaining way to play, but again, like I said, we were going with a handicap. So you can see here I'm building some Nagas. Now, the primary thing here is that I'm going with Nagas because one of my first considerations was I've got to try to get all this water to make a path to get down to help out Utgard. And that was one of my early goals. I'm not a huge fan of Nagas, and this is not a particularly good bless for Nagas at all. It's kind of horrible. It's not maybe a bad bless for cheap sacreds like the Xibalban ones, and we do have reasonable production. But I'm just going to try to take something easy with the starting army. And there's nothing too fancy going on here. Pretty straightforward script. And then recruitment wise, I'm just making sure that I've got some Brahmin around to bless and some cheapo yogis. And then, you know, part of the advantage, I'm sitting here with, where's my fort? Sitting here with 3 commander points, so it's not a bad way to go. And then a bit of gold left over. So that's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole heck of a lot else to talk about with turn 2. The other guys have not moved out yet. Nobody wanted to try a blind expand. And boy, my memory is not... LA Patala is definitely a strange nation, yes. It's one of my favorites. It's, I would consider it middle of the road in power, maybe a little less than middle. But in a Disciples game, it's you can't make the Naga work. Well, they don't work great on land, but they're pretty solid in water. And if we have a look here, one of the reasons is the Hypnotize works in the water. And then they've got so much poison resist. So those are pretty useful things in water. There is still some challenge with them. And water also helps out significantly with the cheap Nagas, because they're not going to get shot. So, and they have quite a lot of attacks. So, you know, they'd probably do better with a stat bless instead of this kind of wonky thing, but it is a strange bless. So I think we can safely move on to turn 3. And for anybody popping in late, don't worry if you miss some of the commentary, because I'm going to upload this to YouTube. I've got it on record as well, and hopefully I've got all my audio settings in great shape. So let's look at turn 3. No, there was lightning resist. Yeah, we did get shock resist. Take another look here, I'll show you. Shock resist 15. So, yeah, no, we weren't quite that dumb. I mean, the thing about charged bodies, it's a fairly... Oh, they have superb summons. I mean, you've got all of the astral summons, plus you have all of the Lanka blood summons, and we got 2 blood nations, and then eventually Patala can be a blood nation as well once you can start summoning Dakini. Dakini are the seriously kick-ass Lanka thugs, or blood hunters, or combat magi, or, you know, they're a very, very robust unit, and especially when you can start using combo Sabbaths and communions, because you've got tons of cheap yogis, so you're going to be able to make slaves very easily. It's not a turbo communion nation, for those of you who know what that is. Anyways, let's watch the fights. Now, we'll keep an eye here for oddities of replay issues, battle replay. This game is 1.5 years old, almost 2 years old. No, not quite, but it's not new, and so there could be some significant differences in how the battles turned out. If it gets too wonky, I can load up a prior version of Dominions, because I'm currently loaded it up with the current version. Anyways, so let's watch this a little bit. It went exceptionally well, but that's a really tiny defense army. So even the notoriously crappy monkey starting army does fine. And there we go. So speed it up a little. So even the craptastic little old Marcata archers actually are, you know, doing some chip damage. And some sticks and stones from the Atavi. And that's pretty much it. And they're running away. So, easy peasy. Now if we look here at... So, my teammate Naira playing Xibalba did struggle a bit at the beginning. He did testing of expansion, and this bless was not particularly helpful for him. But he had the typical problem with Xibalba is his guys run away. So, and we did work out some much improved scripting for him that eventually got his expansion going quite well. So he's sitting in the back. Let's just have a look, see what he does for script. Bit of bless. Did he get everybody blessed? No. Where's the Obsidian Warriors? It's a little hard to spot them here. That should be them. There they are. So they're blessed. Looks like you got everybody blessed. And off they go, attack rear. So that worked not badly in that he actually surrounded the front line. But one of the challenges, okay, and see, even the javelins give him some grief. Some fairly significant grief. See, and one of the squads has already run away, so that's a tremendous nuisance. And that's what went wrong. I believe he did, and I can do a bit of foreshadowing and tell you that one of the things I recommended is that he take his cheap guys and not hold and attack closest, and then take his more valuable guys on the second squad and hold, and then attack rear. So what happens then is your cheap guys slow down the front line of the opponent, of the independents, and they move forward a bit, all the melee guys, and then your stronger guys go flying into the back 2 turns, or on round 3, and hopefully snipe the commanders, and you get it. But yeah, it is all about frontline management. You've got to tie them up so they don't get past you and get to your commander, because you're running around probably, like in his case, with just a jaw. So if that gets sniped, well, you fail. Now, Utgard, let's have a look here. So that's his start army with a few Huskarls. Pretty straightforward. And is he blessing? I'm curious. I can't remember. Like I said, this game is from quite a while back, and but it's one of the more interesting games in that we had to work with some challenges, like a weirdo bless. Okay, so he's getting the Gam herdings nicely blessed. Of course, you know, they kill anything elite, but there's only 1 per square, and they get a single attack. So anything they hit dies. See, I'm pretty darn fond, and he ended up using quite a lot of his various javelinists, because when you've got a range 21 javelin hitting for 23, that's pretty helpful. Pretty helpful. Ah, I didn't see any javelins go. He might not have had those set up just right. But you can see that, you know, he's really not losing a thing. Here's his good old Huskarls. So they're solid again with javelins. So I think that kind of covers most of the action of the first 2 expansions. So I've done okay, just sticking strictly with my starting army. You can see I'm doing that move that I intended to do. So I put together a few negas. The theory and concept is that these guys are going to provide a little bit of bait. There's an interesting thing that we've noticed, and I haven't proven it, but it seems like independent archers will ignore Marcata archers because they're so puny. And so they actually survive better than the Marcata with sticks and stones. And that is sort of an odd result. So next turn we'll watch that and see how that turns out. So unless there's any other questions, let's just look at the scales propagation. And as I mentioned, one of my goals is to get a set of nagas into the water very, very quickly. So the scales are starting to propagate, got a little bit of luck, not much turmoil. For recruitment, I'm using every resource I can get to max out on Naga warriors, and I'm going for a Nagini because they're pretty decent leaders and they're holy, so they can do their own blessing, and once I get a little bit of research they can self-buff enough to stay alive. But you can see that I'm working hard to keep this Nagini alive. I don't really want to lose it. I'm not entirely sure what the AI targeting, like all the details of how it works. Loggy could probably answer some of those questions, but there is a concentration of hit points, I think, involved, and there's friendly fire seems to be in there that it will avoid it if it can. But it's really funny that if you've got, say, in this army, not that one, this one, if you've got a combination of a Tavi and Marcata, yeah, they're really low hit points, they're 5. But still, they're 6 a square, so that's still 30 a square. See, these guys are 10, so they're 30 a square as well. It's the same density, hit point density. But oddly enough, I think it's the weapon, because it considers these little bows. Well, actually, these are actual short bows. Do I have mods on? I don't believe we played with any mods. This was a pure vanilla game. Yeah, there's no mod. Oh, view active mods. Yeah, just worthy heroes and improved arena. So, yeah, I thought wonder if this is a patch thing, because Marcatas used to have the small bows. Anyways, let's move on to the next turn. Just confirmation, this is 3. So we'll move on to 4. We'll see how the various shenanigans go. Alright, Xibalba tries again. Ah, that's just a probe. So 9 heavy cavalries. That is a problem for Xibalba. It's probably not going to go particularly well. But that was just basically a probe. And he's buying up obsidians and zots, so very straightforward. I failed. But see, notice that. I lost a lot of Atavis. I did lose my 4 Nagas. I largely cleared this, so not maybe the best. Let's have a look. Now, in hindsight, maybe I should have used half as many Atavis, but looks like the Nagas just don't cut it. Again, not a great bless, but I have to get to the water. At least that was my strategic. I gotta turn down the sound effects a bit. That's kind of crazy. There we go. So we got a little bit of, looks like got a hypnotize on this guy, got a stun on him. And that would be, and this guy, did he get a stun? Nope. So I got 1 stun from the charge bodies. A couple of things got killed from the charge bodies. I see a little bit more fatigue damage happening from some of the charge bodies. But the problem is the Atavi just melted, and then they surround everything. So that is the problem, the challenge of all of this. Alrighty. Now, our buddy down here, Utgard. So he split his army. So that's a smaller group. And it was sufficient. He won it, although a little bit costly, but not bad. Nice thing though, the Gamherdings should do a serious job of chopping up heavy cavalry. And looks like he set things up so he's got some more javelins coming out. Let's have a look, see if he's, there we go. Not too many hits, but a couple of hits. Okay, so the Gamherdings are doing a heck of a job of just chopping up the heavy cavalry. So definitely no problems there. Nice. Okay, that was clean. I don't think I need to watch too much more of that. So he's going to do a kind of grab territory, punch outwards. He's got a second expansion army, and he's going for the gaudy Huskarls. And these do a heck of a job. He does really quite exceptionally well throughout the game with the gaudy Huskarls. I mean, he gets his few Gamherdings, but it's generally pretty solid. Now, let's have a look-see and see what's hanging around at home. Okay, so I've got some more Nagas. But sadly, I haven't even sent out an expansion party because I got to kind of collect everybody. And this poor guy, nomadic magic leadership, so that poor Naga gets stuck sitting there. That's kind of the summary of turn 4. Now, graphs I'm pretty sure off. Yes, they are. Not a lot to see here in the graphs for our own team. So a little bit of a struggle in the start, but this was a good team in terms of excellent coordination. Everybody on the team was very, very helpful. Okay, I'm going to move on to turn 5. Maybe I can get 10 turns done of this early stuff in an hour. I'm going to at least pause this at the hour and then give myself a chance to make it into 1 hour uploads for YouTube. Okay. Well, that went better. That distinctly went better, but that was only lights and crossbowmen. That's probably the same place he attacked last time. Or did he try a different one? So has he changed it up a bit? Let's watch. Okay, There we go. So he's sending the cheapo squad first. And they take a bit of a beating, and they're probably going to run away. But there's the charged bodies, and there's the full-blown kill. Alright, good. And his losses were very acceptable, I would say, for Xibalba. And Utgard is doing bare bones expansion very well. 6 troops did the job. That was small group of independents. And then over here, similarly, he's doing really well at cost-effective expansion. So good job. And I'm getting some alteration research underway, because my target is hopefully body ethereal. That way, if I want to, I can reasonably use elephants. But don't really have the cash for the elephants yet. Alrighty. So one of the things, notice here, I've deliberately stuck the Mercata archers up as bait, way up front. It's going to be interesting to see how that results, if that does what I'm hoping to see it does. Anything else to see? Yeah, so he cleared that one that was giving him trouble. He's putting together some more armies. Now what he really wants is to grab himself some forest. But sadly, there's not much in the way of forest handy. Okay. So not a whole heck of a lot else to do with on turn 5. Let's go on to 6. La 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 la. Okay, and we cleared it. So we lost to Tavis, but frankly, who cares? I'm just using them as some meat shields. Nothing too much else to it. See how the script works. See what I mean? Look at those Mercata archers. And where... Yeah, see the militias and the heavy cavalries, they come down toward the middle. And they ignore that easy front line. Oh, one of them heads that way. So the poison spits are working a little bit. Not much. They're mostly missing. There we go. There's some poison spit. I see the poison ticking away. And that helps. There's some charged bodies firing off. That guy took a beating. There's some more charged bodies, so we get some fatigue happening. Not enough for a stun, though. But, yeah, that's that. They're running away. So, am I doing the Dominions YouTube thing on Twitch? Yes, I am trying out to record it here on Twitch first, or to stream it on Twitch first, and then I'm also recording, so that the recording I can then edit. Mayor is everywhere. Well, Mayor is, yes, possibly all over the place. But I thought that it was about time that I had some content back to Dominions for my YouTube. I spent the last week since the release of Elysium 5 on Elysium and mostly on Twitch, and I did put some of the streams up on YouTube, but I'm working on improving the quality there, because when you stream to Twitch and then you download it and then you try to edit it, and there's some problems with that. So something I learned is I can both record and stream at the same time, and I've also upgraded my audio, so I'm doing multi-channel recording. We'll see how all that turns out. We'll definitely see how all that turns out. Okay. Now, you can see that I'm not advancing into the water yet, because what I'm doing is bringing up some more Nagas. And then the standard troops are moving back to work on land stuff. So hopefully I'll be getting in the water next turn. I believe I do. #1 Illwinter content producer in a year. Well, I got a long ways to go. Some of the others are very prolific. Okay, and Utgard had only one expansion. Looks like he slowed down over here. He's kind of got some pretty tough stuff. Yeah, heavy cav. And we spotted a bad guy. Arco, I think. Let's have a look. Pretenders. That should be Arco. Yes, sir, that's Arco. I do have the time, and yes, I have the voice, and yes, I have most of the knowledge, although I have to confess, there sure are some people that have figured out stuff that I never figured out. The other thing is I do have that little bit of an error of, or glitch, where sometimes I'm still stuck with old habits. It's improving. And Illwinter are not the only games I play. You know, I like to spread around, and I'll probably do some streaming of some of the other games I play, maybe even some Destiny, which is kind of funny. Watch an old guy with slow reflexes play a shooter. I'm not horrible, but I'm not great. Alrighty, just back to the messages. So we looked at that, and you know, let's see if he's changed this up to this new method. So he's got, looks like, still 2 squads, and these are the Plain Jane Zots Warriors. People like jingles. There you go. Did you mean jingles as in little songs, or? There we go. Okay, so this was what we recommended, is you basically assume that squad #1 that attacks immediately is going to run away because they're bats and they run away. Oh, World of Tanks YouTuber. Is that what you mean by I've never heard of jingles. I should check that up. Check that out. Well, show me that later, Fogmind. And yeah, see, this worked really good. So in coordination with the 3 of us talking away on Discord in our group channel, we did get Xibalba up and running in a much better way. And we still haven't seen any bad guys up here. Right, an old guy with crap aim. Yeah, my aim's not terrible, but I can tell it's not great. So, for example, when I do some player versus player stuff, I compensate by taking cheesy things that help me aim easier. And I have a decent setup, but I don't have one of those gigantic monitors. And then there's all the stuff about optimizing your mouse settings and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. I think we've seen what we want to see on this turn. So that's 6 covered. And been streaming for about 42 minutes. All right, let's try 7. Here we go. Okay, no expansion by me. So my expansion is relatively slow, but we've kind of covered some of that. Wisdom over youth, yeah. Here we go. Utgard's doing exceptionally well. So, you know, one of our strategic goals early in this game, and this thing with Xibalba's working really well too. One thing Xibalba is really itching for is to find another forest, but see, we look around and the only one's over here, so it's kind of a frustrating for poor Xibalba not to find forests because of his foreign recruit stuff to get more more bats, more zots and stuff. Alright, and here comes my expansion into the water. I am bringing 2 Nagini, and part of that was the site search purposes. So I'm still limiting myself to recruiting Nagini. I haven't gone to the big Nagarishi yet, but Nagarishi are expensive, and you can see with 3 commander points, it's very easy to spend all my gold. The other reason is I just feel I'm going to need a good chunk of Nagini to take over this water. Alright, now messages wise, we've covered those battles. Yeah, so I don't think we need to watch that one. Now, how's the scales doing? The scales are propagating quite nicely finally. And then on research, we're chugging away. It's only a moderate amount of research, but it's working. And then over here, yeah, so things are looking good. Arco's putting a good bit of squeeze on Utgard. And now we've got Ashdod showing up, right? I believe that's Ashdod. Let's confirm the flag. Gath, sorry, not Ashdod. It's late age. Should have known that. And do we see anybody else? I see Gath. Now, team-wise, it's a good question. Gath. So it's Speed Dating Central's servant. And Speed Dating Central is Micklin. So it's Gath and Micklin. And Arco's buddies are Pan and Calum. So Arco is not showing any signs of having anybody helping him. We haven't seen Micklin. And Micklin's other teammates are Speeding Central Speed. Midgard, that's right. Midgard and Gath. And then we haven't seen the 4th team at all, which is Atlantis and Vedheim, and should be Pier. Who's the other one that is teamed up? Oh, Rocks. There we go. Vedheim and Flagra. Okay. So that basically was 7. Right? Yeah. Expansions went. See, Utgard is just chunking away, steadily chewing away with nice little efficient armies. And Xibalba's doing fine, but he's still struggling to run out more than one at a time. And of course, that he's not going to clear for a while. That big throne. So that's a challenge for him. But here's a cave. So he definitely wants that. Yeah, that's going to be a target for him. It should be pretty easy. And then the other cave, but then these are the damn trogs. So that's a bit of a nuisance. Okay. So that's turn 7. I think we've adequately gone over that. Let's look at 8. It's looking like 10 in an hour is going to be within a reasonable target. That's my goal, anyways. Nice and clean. I lost a couple of the cheap Nagas. No big deal. And see, sometimes the fish boys can be a bit of a challenge, but oddly enough, I believe the charged bodies we'll see here soon enough, but I believe it works in the water, which I'll have to say is sort of strange. Well, I guess you got electric eels and everything, so why not? You got high conductivity. It looks to me like the nets were probably what did in the plain Nagas. Nobody got past the front line. Ooh, here they go. They're starting to get past the front line. But hopefully, the Nagas, the Naginis, will be able to slow those guys down enough not to take any damage. Well, that got a little touch and go. I could have had some risk for Dakini there. Definitely could have had some risk for Dakini there. All my retreaters got back, but now I got to go collect them with somebody because there they are sitting there. Alrighty. So, we bought some PD, so I'm going with the 6 PD thing pretty much everywhere. Ah, nicely, Xibalba did a double expand, and successful. So that's pretty sweet. Yeah, definitely very sweet. So he's doing really well. I mean, yes, the attrition on the Zot's warriors. He lost 10 of the obsidians. I guess that was just maybe enough independence to cause some grief. Let's have a look. Speed it up a bit. Oh wow, the javelins and the crossbows just wiped the first army. And he just didn't luck out and get commanders. No, not quite. And that squad split. Okay, but that's definitely satisfactory. So he's doing fine. And, okay, Utgard, oh, a bump. That's not even a bump. That's actually a deliberate attack. Or was it? No, hold on a second here. That's Midland? Oh, the goad ran away. That's what it looks like to me here. Something went wrong, and the goad ran away, and so wasn't there. So that was a bump from a diplomacy point of view. This is kind of odd. So why... Let's check the morale on this goad. Okay, oh, yeah. Well, that's awkward. The goad ran away. So that meant when Utgard... Oh my gosh. That is an insanely huge expansion army. 1, 2, 3, 4 magi who probably have no spells. That's kind of nuts. I guess he figured if he was going to have a bump, he was going to be sure he won it. Let's take a look at that. Oh, okay, so it's a nice farm. Oh, the other thing is this is Midgard. And Midgard is on Guardian of the Servants. Speed dating central. Okay, so Midgard and Gath are not on the same team. So clearly, Gath must have decided. So I'm guessing Gath's capital is right here. So he just wanted to be absolutely sure he took that farm. And Utgard has a decent chunk of area. You know, there's quite a lot of... I'm trying to remember the name of this map. This is a Pymus map. And it's a pretty nice map. But it's got quite a bit of restrictions. So we've got a lot of rivers. And these rivers quite constrain you. Ah, I found Pangaea. And I found Mictlan. Look at that. So it's pretty safe to say that Mictlan is stuck sandwiched between Xibalba and I without any support from his team. And if we review here, Mictlan's team, speed setting Dendril. Good morning, how are you? Good to see you. So his team is Gath, and he's a long way from Gath. And his other team member is Midgard. Okay, so Midgard and Gath, I'm sorry, they are teammates. And here's poor Mictlan, and this is not a wrap map north-south. It's an east-west map wrap, but yeah, it's been quite a while. Well, I was doing mostly Conquest of Elysium this week, and we were going to do some more today, but needed a bit of a break, so. And I'm recording this as well Hopefully the quality is good so it can go up on YouTube as well. Huh. So that we'll be curious to see what's happening here. So is there anything else here on turn 8 that needs to be covered? I don't think so. Covered the messages. We sort of looked at the diplomacy situation. Now I'll mention that my only notes available for diplomacy on this game are what's stuck inside my head from remembering. So we probably are not going to have very accurate memories of diplomacy unless one of the other players happens to pop by at some point in time and be able to answer some questions. Sometimes I think I should keep better notes of diplomacy for these games. Thoughts on Patala? Yeah, I think Patala is kind of middle of the road. This is a Disciples game, obviously. So Xibalba and Utgard are my teammates, and as I discussed, we've got kind of a wonky, weird bless. This bless was set up for the idea of the bless was our team was significantly more experienced than a lot of the other teams, so we agreed to take a bit of a handicap by sort of doing something a bit meme-like on the bless, not optimized. And it was intended to be a, how do you put this, a casual game. But I think a lot of the people involved sort of realized after a while that there is no such thing as a casual game with Disciples, simply because there's too much work to be done just with working with your teammates doing the diplomacy, because diplomacy is like 3 times as much work, because when you're dealing with one team it's 3 people, and then you got to be sure that they all talk to each other, or so on and so forth. So some of the folks that joined this game, I think, found it a little bit overwhelming, and but that was why we took kind of an oddball blast. Okay, I think I'm going to move on to 9. Do teams without Disciples? Well, we played team games back in Dominions 3 before Disciples came out, but what you had to do is you had to work out all kinds of complicated mechanisms, because you couldn't walk over each other's territory, and you can't combine armies to fight, but what you can do is you can stagger fights. Yeah, I follow what you mean, but without the thing where you've got a single pretender and different Disciples. Although when that came out, that was such a huge improvement to the game. Feel free to post something along those lines to the wish list, because that's an interesting comment and not one I've heard too often. So, okay, there's something funky here on my stream, and there should be a way. My stream is not, or at least my recording is not going to show the chat, which is sort of disappointing, but I'll try to sort that out. Okay, let's look at the messages. So I'm still working on my goal of alteration 4. I haven't queued up any other. Your Dominion would have to fight each other, probably. Yeah, I think that's maybe why they didn't try something like that, but it's an interesting idea for a mechanic. Okay, so I just sent a conventional army of mostly junk. Yeah, it is kind of funny. And that might be simply because of the mechanics of it or the code. But it is pretty cool that you actually have proper combined fights in Elysium. Okay, that expansion went well. I really do want to... I really want to solve a problem here. I can't remember how to do it. Oh well, I'll do it on my break, I guess. Proper combined fights would be very cool in Dominion 6. Yeah, that would be very cool. Mess up each other's formations, you would, but you could at least coordinate that. But who knows, if they could do combined fights, maybe you could actually have a combined, like the Y key that lets you organize groups going to the same place. Maybe that could have some, I don't know, maybe you could see your allies' formations and then adjust yours to suit. Otherwise, you got to go in Discord and send screenshots to each other. Or different parts of the battlefield assigned. Okay, guys, you guys are heading off into the land of wows of ideas, but good thinking. Morale might be a bit weird. Yeah, it's an interesting concept. Oh, we got some sharks. Yeah, but see, I don't think sharks are going to bother Nagas much at all. See? Yeah, boom, they're dead. See, this is one of the... Who was asking, saying they had troubles with Nagas? It's things like these coral spears and poison barbs are why Nagas are really quite valuable for Patala when you want to get into the water. So that covered that. Looks like Xibalba had no expansion. Utgard's putting together some bigger armies. And that one took a bit of a... Oh, that was a lot of barbarians, so that's livable. Actually, that's pretty minimal losses against barbarians. And then an unexpected event. Somebody got cursed. Alrighty. Oh wow, friendly labs would be huge. Because that is very, very frustrating. I've got another team game underway now. And I might start recording some of it fairly soon. It's advanced enough to do that. And in that one, sharing labs, because we've had to relinquish a lab back and forth in order to be able to, just to avoid so much distance, bringing gems up and some other tidbits. So that kind of covers 9. Alright. Well, nobody's got any more questions about 9. And I don't see anything too significant on the diplomacy thing. Utgard has settled in. Now, I believe there was negotiations going on around the borders around Utgard at this point in time. For me, I had no negotiations to do yet. Xibalba and Miklin were talking. I think we all kind of agreed to relative peace. Okay, I'm going to sort of do up turn 10, and then I'm going to take a short break. So let's have a look-see here. Yeah, so Utgard had spare gold. And that is good because I've got quite a lot of cost. Expensive sacreds, expensive magi. Xibalba's doing well. Very, very solid. And that went just fine. So I'm bringing along a few Nagas. Let's take a look at where that was. So I'm just trying to fill out the space in between. And hopefully, is this an actual army? Yes, because I really do want to get these lizards, get the rest of my capital circle. And notice I'm carrying on. I'm going to try a cheapo expansion with just independent tritons. Plus some net boys. Nope, these are the heavy fishmen. And we're carrying on down this way. Glowing kelp forest, that's useful. Unexpected. Oh, I got some gold. Utgard's did fine, and Xibalba, that one was not so successful. Ooh, he lost to Camazots. That didn't go so well. I think 5 just wasn't enough Obsidian Warriors. Minimalist balance mod again, yeah. Um, well, I don't know, because one of my thoughts on it is that for land expansion, you have some other options. You know, I know if we have a look here, the big mall Vandars do tend to chop up anything with any production, smack it senseless. Um, you've got the MR issues, and then elephants are fine, they work. So if you're not buying Nagas, you can afford elephants. You could arguably, kind of try using Nagas more as a range thing. Ammunition 5 isn't bad, although they miss a lot, but against a large enough pack. Animal leadership on the leaders. Yeah, I guess that would help with the Bandars. Most people I know prefer the cudgel guys to the mace guys, just because they hit harder. And then, light Bandars, if you go for enchantment research, this gets pretty solid because you're getting +3 range, so you're out to 18 and 15 points of damage for a damn stick, and you get 2 of them. So there's options, but one of the things I think about, one of the things I think about the monkeys is that they're one of the fussier nations to script, especially during expansion. So we were talking about oddities like, the cheapo Marcata archers seem to survive more than they should because the AI ignores them. So I'm just going to quickly look over. All right, now did I? Yeah, so I've purchased. No, it's still Naginis, but here we go. Oh, I'm grabbing some Nagarajas just to help out with improved leadership and to let me do some formations. So when I play Patala, and I've done it a few times in Dominions 5 competitively, I usually do a mix of all 3 of the cap onlys. You definitely want a good bunch of Nagarishis, but Atavi do break really easily, but they can soak a lot of stuff. So, okay, guys, I am at the point of needing a bio break, and because this is turn 10, it's a very excellent point to have a pause. I'm not going to stop, but I'm just going to put you guys on my newly designed away screen. See, check this out. Isn't that sweet? Look at that. I just figured out how to do that. So I will be back soon. Okay, AFK a little bit.